Hey guys, welcome to my Kaveri APU gaming PC build. It has been a while since I've done a video like this. I'll be making a two-part video. In this part of the video, I'll be showing you all the parts that I bought for my build. In my second video, I'll be showing you my finished build. One thing to note is that all the parts that I bought in this video, I didn't buy it all at once. I bought them one by one, and sometimes I bought them when they were on sales. The disadvantage of doing this is if you leave it to the last minute, some of the parts might not work and you can't return it since it passed the return date. So with that aside, let's get started with the video. First component of the build is the CPU. For my CPU, I went with the latest AMD most advanced APU chip out in the market right now, AMD A10-7850K. Kaveri is the latest APU processor in the AMD APU lineup that focuses purely on the integrated graphics side of things. This APU is costly, but when I bought this at Newegg during a special offer, it came with Battlefield 4 coupon and dog tag for free, which valued for $80, so technically I was only paying $120 if you subtract those two, which is a good deal in my opinion. I'll be resetting the Battlefield 4 to get some of my money back, or to use it myself, so yeah. But considering you don't need to go out and spend money on a discrete graphics card, I say it's worth the money. Plus you can always add discrete graphics card further down the road if you choose to do so. The next part of the build is CPU cooler. The CPU cooler aftermarket heatsink is optional. You can use the stock cooler if you want, but I don't recommend it. For the CPU cooler, I went with Cooler Master Hyper 212 Evo. The reason I went with this is because it's cheap, it's reliable, and it does the job to cool your CPU. But be careful though, this is a huge heatsink. Make sure you check to see if it's compatible with your motherboard. Sometimes it gets in the way of the RAM. Check to see if there's enough clearance between the RAM and the heatsink. It all depends on which configuration you're going with, to be honest. Next is the motherboard. For the motherboard, I went with Gigabyte GV-R725 Sniper A80X ATX FM2 Plus motherboard. I went with this motherboard because one of my friends suggested it. The motherboard is packed with absolutely everything you need to build a high performance gaming PC. This motherboard is based on AMD A10 chipset, and it is ready to go with my Kaveri APU A10-7850K that I'll be using in this build. One thing to note is that the one that I purchased, it did not come with the latest BIOS to support my FM2 Plus Kaveri APU out of the box. This will not always be the case, so I have to bring it to my local store, Tiger Direct, and ask them to flash the BIOS to the updated version F7 that support it. I would have done it myself, but I don't got the stuff. It was no biggie though, but that's something to keep in mind in case you might come across this problem. So make sure you check this first before building your PC, because this is very important, or else it won't post a BIOS. For memory, I went with Patriot Viper 3 16GB DDR3 2133 MHz 1.5V memory. I went with 60GB instead of 8GB because 8GB was out of stock and 16GB was the only one left, so I bought that instead. If I were you, I'll go with 8GB of RAM, and even better, go with lower profile RAM at that. The reason I went with 2133 MHz of speed is because this is going to be APU build, so the higher RAM of speed, the better it is, since it does not have discrete graphics card to rely on. Another reason I bought this RAM is because it uses 1.5 voltage. Since the motherboard I'll be using does not support anything above 1.5V, or other it will become unstable. So if you must find a RAM, make sure you find RAM with 2133 MHz with 1.5 voltage. One thing to note is that by default, the RAM will be running at 60 MHz speed, so you need to go to the BIOS and manually change the timing to get that advertised speed of 2133 MHz. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, make sure you check the motherboard RAM compatibility so you don't come across any problem. Next is storage drive. SSD is optional. In this case, I'll be going with SSD. I'll be going with ADATA Premium Pro SP900 128GB of SSD. I went with this SSD because it was on sale. I wanted to get that increased performance in boot time and many benefits that come with SSD. I never used SSD before, so I'm using it for the first time. So I'll be using this SSD mainly to install my operating system and some programs. These days the price of SSD is darn cheap. There's no reason not to get one, and the price will keep going down. It's a matter of time before SSD will become affordable. For the secondary hard drive, I went with the Seagate desktop 3TB hard drive. I went with 3TB hard drive instead of the 1TB hard drive because it was on sale as well. I'll be using this as my secondary storage where I'll be installing all my stuff. This is pretty standard. Also, one thing to note is that when we're getting 3TB hard drive disks, make sure you format and create a new volume in order to get the advertised 3TB of space. For some reason, there's 2TB ceiling, and you have to manually change it. Other than that, there's nothing much I can say about this. Next is the power supply. This is an important part of the build, so don't cheap out on power supply. For this build, I went with EVGA 500 watts 80 plus bronze certified non-modular ATX power supply. This power supply has everything you need to power up your system. 500 watts is plenty of power. Plus it got enough power to add discrete GPU further down the road if you choose to do so. Next is the case. For the case, I went with Fractal Design Define R4 with Windows panel Black Pearl ATX Metallic Edition. I went with this case because I heard great reviews and it was one of the best looking cases out there. It comes with a clean looking front panel that I really love. I'll be adding a giant dragon logo at the front where it will look beast. Two 140mm fan is included, one rear and one front. Love the cable management in this case. It comes with many noise dampening material. Overall, it's a really good case. There's nothing bad I can say about this case. I might do an overview of this case though in my upcoming video, as I really love this case, so stay in tune for that. Next is the optical drive. The optical drive is optional. You can get whatever you want, it doesn't matter. I'll be using my old 2006 optical drive from my old computer. I'm surprised that it still works. So I'll be using it to install my operating system and drivers. You can get Asus or Samsung for your optical drive. For the operating system, it's optional. I went with the Microsoft Windows 8.1 64-bit. I went with this OS because it supports the latest DirectX 11.2, and that's always a good thing to have if you're building a gaming PC. It's always better to get a new OS since it has longer support from Microsoft compared to the older or last generation OSs. It never made sense to buy last generation OS when a new version is out. You get a longer support cycle. Starting from here, every parts will be optional. For the graphics card, I went with Gigabyte GV-R725-2GI. This GPU comes with 2GB of GDDR5 memory. Since Kaveri APU support dual graphics technology, we'll be taking advantage of that. One thing to note is that AMD Kaveri dual graphics only works with Radeon R7 250 and Radeon R7 240 GPUs. With this, you'll be seeing around 5 to 10% performance increase. It's not a lot, but every frame rate counts. Next is case fan. This is optional. I'll be pimping out my build, so I'll be adding BitFenix Spectre Pro LED green 140mm case fan. This comes in variety of colors. I went with green because it matches with my green LED on my motherboard. Next is LED strip. This is optional. While you can add the fan, you might as well add the LED strip. BitFenix Alchemy Connect LED 30cm strip to your build. It will pimp up your case for sure. Just stick it to the side of the window panel of the case and it will look beast. This concludes my PC parts video. I'll be making a second video showing my finished build, so stay in tune for that. If you have any feedbacks or comments, don't hesitate to post it on the comments section below. Other than that, I'll see you in my next video. Thank you for watching.